Second person I'd like to adjourn in memory of was also a very sudden and unexpected loss, and it's someone I think most of us know, Moe Stavnezer, who was on the board for 2 decades of the Los Angeles League of Conservation Voters. I know Mr. Blumenfield wants to join me on this one, as some others might as well. I've asked a couple of his board members who are here with us today, Tom Eisenhower and Jim Kennedy, to be here. Moe was, if you've ever run for office and were interviewed by LALCV, you undoubtedly met Moe. He was invariably on the interview panel. He was one of the folks who badgered you twice a year to come to their events and help sponsor their votes. He was tireless in the work he did for various organizations. And he died on December 28th. And it was a huge blow. He was a social justice and environmental champion. His activism in California began as a member of the Venice Town Council back in the 70s and 80s, and with the passage of Prop 20, which was the Coastal Act in 1972. He appeared before the Coastal Commission numerous times as an advocate for affordable housing, for coastal access, for community preservation, and for the protection of natural resources. For that work, all the way back in 1978, Moe was honored with an Award of Merit by the state of California. He was the founder and board member of 2 statewide coastal protection organizations, PACE, which stands for People Access Coastal Environment, and the League for Coastal Protection, that advocated for a variety of issues before the Coastal Commission and the courts, most especially the Bayona wetlands in my district. In the 80s, Moe was one of the founding board members of Heal the Bay, and he served as their vice president for a time. He was also on the board of Venice Community Housing Corporation, and he served as their president. He served on various boards for Liberty Hill Foundation, including their Environmental Justice Board and their Board of Directors. He was a founder of SMER, Santa Monica for Renters' Rights, which is a huge force in the city of Santa Monica. They won rent control for that city. In '87, he was part of the steering committee that got Ruth Galanter elected to the council. He was on the LALCV board for over 20 years, including 5 years as president, and he was serving as treasurer when he passed away, and was one of the founders of the group. LA is cleaner, it's greener, it's more just. More people have access to the coast, and more people have affordable housing because of Moe. He was a little guy with a big heart and a huge spirit, and was just absolutely unstoppable. And I know that there's generations of elected officials and activists that he took under his wing and he mentored. Just an all-around great guy, and it was a shock to hear the news over the holidays that he passed, and a real blow. And I'd ask that we adjourn in his memory, and may he rest in peace.
Bob.
Thank you. Just want to add a little bit to that, and thank you so much for adjourning in Moe's memory today. He was, I actually think he was on the LALCB board for over 30 years. I had the pleasure of serving with him for a number of years, and in fact, I still remember when he recruited me to the board, and he would say, "This isn't like another board. We actually do all the work here. There is no executive director that's paid. There's this and that, but if you're going to be part of this board, you're going to dig your heels in and work on it." And it was great, and that's what that board was about. And as you guys know, and Moe carried that to the nines. He had an infectious laugh. He really was a hoot of a guy who did so much for so many. It's hard to believe that he's left us, but his legacy will certainly continue on in all of us, and the great work that he's done. So I thank you for letting me add on to this adjourn.
Ms. Martinez?
Yes. Thank you. I also have to say a few words about my friend Moe. Thank you, Mike and Bob. I'd also like to add my name to his adjournment. I was in real shock when I heard that he had passed away during our break. And I just want to say this about Moe. He has to be one of the few people that ever reached out to me when I started to run over a decade ago for office, and one of the very few members of LFCV who was really committed to ensuring that communities like the communities that I represented were represented politically. And that meant the world to me, because at a time where environmental justice was not something that was a word that we threw around in the Northeast San Fernando Valley, Moe was that special guy that ensured that the Southeast cities and the communities of the Northeast San Fernando Valley were at the table getting its fair share. I think Moe is one of that, and I know he's looking down on us and smiling because he was just that special to me and to so many people that looked just like me, that wanted to ensure that, our causes were being taken seriously, and that when we sought to run for office, that our communities got behind us. And so I just want to thank you. I was really in shock. I had no idea that he had been this sick. I know he had some health issues in the past, but I'm truly going to miss him and his amazing passion for justice. So thank you, guys.
Mr. Koretz?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yeah, I'd just like to add, I've known Moe for over 40 years. I met him when some of the coastal measures were going on in the early 70s, and when he was one of the founders of LALCV, and I didn't know about the group when it had been founded and ran across him at a table on the Santa Monica Pier, and he got me more involved in environmental political activism, trying to support environmental issues and candidates that were concerned about the environment, which I've continued to do until this day. So it's hard for me to imagine the environmental movement and politics in Los Angeles without Moe, but I guess we will sadly have to do that. And I'd like to be added to this as well.